lot of my
Exactly.
friends know I do this, but they've not made the change yet because they haven't established habits like that. Like you don't raise to the level of your ideals, but you fall to the level of your habits, right? Like even me, in spite of doing so many things, I still make mistakes. So I'll have to see. I can't be hard on myself and say, oh my God, you can't be doing this.
Yeah.
So when I came back, the thing was burned. He said, you
Oh,
only told me to watch it. No, he was serious. He said, you
that's
only
so.
told me to watch it.
Hi, Anu. Good morning. How are you
Hi,
doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me here. Growing up, were you always a nature lover, or was there any influence of your family? Or if not, then how did you acquire the affinity towards nature?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. And good luck on your new,
Thank you so
this is a
much.
great idea. As far as nature lovers concerned, I think human beings are hardwired to be uh, that way. I don't think I'm specially so in that way. As far as my family is concerned, like I said, the sustainability and things like that, if that's what you mean, I think growing up in the 80s, most of us, the lifestyle was such
Yeah,
that we were already minimal. We
true.
used public transportation. There wasn't plastic everywhere, and
Yeah.
we consumed what we bought. We consumed less, so that was part of the life. And I'm sure these things somewhere changed quite a lot in the 90s, and that's when you started hearing people talking about, oh, there's plastic everywhere, and it takes forever to get destroyed. I really didn't think much about it until, say, mid 2000s when I started working.
Mm.
I I used to travel a lot to Germany, and by that time, they had already established these practices for recycling and things like that. Like if you went to a grocery store, you didn't really find plastic bags, and you had to carry your own stuff. So it became such a part of my life, and I just continued that way. And then with more and more talk about these things happening, I was more aware of people around me who had started making these changes, like making compost and things like that. Although I was aware of all of this, I really couldn't do much about it until I quit my job, and and then I had, like, I wasn't in a traveling job anymore. It was much more easier for me to make these changes more sustainably, like, start making compost and taking care of it and things like that. So that's when I started on my own. But I had known about this for years before I started. So I understand when people are reluctant to start something like this, and
Yeah, very
it takes
true.
sometimes forever to have those habits. See, my father always used to buy groceries in our house, and he used to carry his own bag. And I remember getting these bags that you can carry in your pocket, and he was so happy with that. And then, so I wasn't doing that. And then I realized that I'm just getting back to what I've always seen people around me do it. So
Absolutely.
again, it's not just grocery bags and things like that, right? Like, my grandmother used to do a lot of stuff around the house, which is just recycling stuff and reusing them. And my mother is still like that. She doesn't waste anything. She buys like groceries that are exactly required and consumes everything, or gives it away. So there's zero wastage homes were already there. It's just the ones like us who've lost our way in between are getting back to it now.
True, true, very true. So there was no trigger in life that made you embrace sustainability, but you just absorbed these, or you were observing these changes happening around, and at certain
Yeah.
point, you just
Just
embraced it,
slowly changed.
slowly
Just
changed.
slowly.
Okay, that's nice. So, what are the eco-conscious activities that you have adopted?
So you've read my blog. I
Yeah.
started with like the 50 things I do for a more eco-friendly lifestyle. But the fact is that the habits that have more bang for the buck are composting, making enzyme cleaners, and things like that. So I think for each one, they have to decide what they have time for and what changes they can make that will make a big difference. So for me, I felt making compost that would eliminate the need for throwing away garbage, and So that was a major change that I did. I anyway used to carry my own bags for groceries and produce bags. I go and do all this. But see, if you looking at impact, these you have to look at what has a bigger impact. I feel compost making or like not using chemicals for cleaning, like making your own enzyme cleaner, those make a lot of difference. But if you even if you don't want to start with something like that, if somebody, for example, if you are a regular meat eater, even reducing the amount of consumption by like even one day or twice a week would make much more of a difference. So one has to weigh what is more important. But I do quite a lot of things, and I slowly is getting more and more. So I every time you find, you just realize how it's done. Like it's all about establishing the habit, right?
Yeah.
So I just try and see if I can change it. And what I've also realized with something like composting is that it's not as hard as it looks.
Hmm.
So I'm more open to trying more of such practices.
That's very nice.
Like
Yeah.
first time, composting took me 5 years to start doing. I thought, oh, it's going to have worms and it's going to stink and all that. But then enzyme cleaner, it took me just 3 months. And so I didn't have like so much of a
Yeah.
reluctance to start some new practice. But if there is some, like, for example, there are a lot of buildings which, take away your wet waste and they'll compost it in their own
In India, I think.
spaces
Yeah.
or what. In India, a lot of
Yeah.
people do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it's done
Exactly.
at such a large scale, and you can encourage more people to do it, and I think it's fantastic. And if that's
Yes.
the only source of friction, then if you are, I mean, it's a good way, a place to start, and eventually you'll realize that it's easier to just do it yourself. You can do it yourself too.
Yeah. True. True.
Mm.
So, how do you feel about it? Like, do you feel these tasks are strenuous, or like, what is the feeling and struggle, if any? Like, what keeps you consistent? And if you miss a day or two, what keeps you going? Like, do you come back to your old habits, or it? But I think it just becomes a way of life, right?
Exactly. You answered it yourself. And like I said, it doesn't take that much of an effort, which is what I realized after I started. It seemed like a lot of work. I thought I
Hmm.
wouldn't have the time and other things, but now it's such a integral part of our daily life.
And yeah,
See,
I think.
you take your garbage and you put it outside. Instead, I put it in the compost. It takes like about 5 minutes of maintenance a day, which is
Absolutely.
something that everybody can afford to spend. And it's not something that you think about. But something like plastic, I feel only when it makes an impact, only when a lot of people makes such changes.
Yeah, but
While
see, that is the misconception. Like each person thinks that. Like there's a lot of people who need to do. But every person, if they just think about themselves, I think that will create a very big impact. That is going to, when you stop thinking that what is what is my little plastic wastage going to make a difference in the whole scenario?
true,
You need to stop thinking that and just think about your own contribution. And
yeah.
similarly, so like each household, if they think about their own thing, that's going to make a big impact. Yeah, because unless
So
a consumer doesn't demand for or change their habits, the companies or the businesses are not going to give you that. Like if you are demanding that I don't want plastic, it's a business wants to make money and they want to make their consumers happy. So it starts from us, like, so if we start changing our habits, it is all companies are analyzing this data and they are seeing what is the shift in behavior of the consumers and they try to cater to that. So it all starts from a consumer. We start, stop thinking that what impact it is going to happen if I just save some plastic. Instead of that, if they can actually start doing their bit, instead of thinking the big scenario, just do it from your bit, and I'm sure it's going to bring a very big change. Like there will be,
true.
and it is happening. Like there is change happening, and I'm very glad about it. Like this behavior shift is being observed, and but yeah, it will take some time for it to seep into the entire society. But these conversations, I think, are important, so people notice it and Because after all, it's for
Yes,
our own betterment. Like it's nothing that we are doing for the environment. I think it is all for ourselves itself. Like, it's going to, right?
our children, the
Our
future,
children,
and
exactly. And right now, also, there is so much of impact. Like you can notice the climate changing so rapidly everywhere, in every location of the world. So it is affecting us.
no step is too small. And wherever you can start is great. And the next step would be, after all this, would be to see what other changes you can make that will have a bigger impact. And so you just go on. See, I started with just plastic bags, giving up plastic bags too. So that's a good first step.
Yes. My next question is, does your family value or understand the importance of your sustainable practices, and do they participate or help you with it?
They started everything very reluctantly, but now like I said, I'm not trying to inspire them to do this or make changes so that, but it's just establishing these small habits, like handing them a bag when they go to buy stuff, encouraging them to recycle. I installed the compost and I said, put your garbage here. So um, they realized it's such a small change, and if it makes an impact, why not? So they weren't very thrilled about it initially, but they realized how simple it is. So now they do it.
That's nice.
And it's all about establishing practices like, you don't raise to the level of, I mean, just having awareness is not enough. That
Yeah,
doesn't make you make changes. A lot of my
exactly.
friends know I do this, but they've not made the change yet because they haven't established habits like that. Like you don't raise to the level of your ideals, but you fall to the level of your habits, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's all about establishing the right habits in your
That's true.
household, and then it'll happen automatically.
That's true. Yeah. So you are a mother to a lovely boy, right? These days, like
Mm.
kids learn so much on sustainability in school. Uh, I was just inquisitive to know that these studies, to ask about your kid, does it drive your kid to be more eco-conscious, or is just like another subject they are studying?
Frankly, I think there is awareness, enough awareness everywhere, including schools. So children are aware of climate change and everything. But until it starts affecting their immediate environment,
Yeah,
or somebody is making this into a habit, either forced or from,
I think they
or they're
emulate.
inspired by people around you,
Yeah,
then
true.
it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
So children need to be inspired to do it. It's not enough that they're informed about it.
Yeah, they're constantly observing things. So I think they need it. It has to start from us adults, and they'll observe that and emulate it in some course of time. What are your thoughts about minimalism? And are you a hardcore minimalist?
So, see, essentialism, minimalism, all these terms we use now, but it's all about being mindful and being aware and reduce your consumption generally. So, wherever you're headed, as long as it's in the right direction, it's good. Yes, I aspire to be somebody who can be very happy with just a few things and
But did this thing come out of certain, what do you say, certain experience in life, or it just like, you wanted to embrace this as a part of a sustainable journey?
it started off with that, but once you make changes and you see that kind of making you a much more happier and contented person, you try to do more of the same. So
Right.
I've realized that having less stuff is less clutter is
So true.
better. So then I see where else can I make that change. The biggest change that you can make is in reducing consumption, right? Like
Yeah.
sustainability and other things come later. Like, where can you reduce your consumption? So that's important. And then being more mindful and, just spending time on things that are most essential, and finally also buying less stuff
Hmm.
is what makes you. But I have like a house full of plants, and I'm not a minimalist when it comes to that. But then, some things like I'm more mindful of what I bring into my house more, or like what I bring into my life more, like.
Yeah, yeah. Right,
What I
right.
mean, it's not just about stuff.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
kind of attitude that less is
Relationships
more.
or people whom you
or
interact with.
or just generally understanding that less is more, and you shouldn't multitask too much and just concentrate on a few things that you value. So all of this is related to, I used to call myself an aspiring minimalist, but I don't stick to that small definition anymore. It's like you trying to improve your life in many ways, and they all happen to be in the same direction
Hmm.
of wanting
True.
less and being happy with less, and
Yeah.
so all that.
I know, right? And yeah, when you don't have much clutter, it's so peaceful, right? You don't have much to maintain. You don't much have much to clean up. It's quite peaceful in that way.
Yeah, it is. It is. But one has to realize by experience.
Yes, true. I'm very inquisitive to know from all the women because each one's perspective about this is quite different. So you must have you heard about the UN sustainability goals, right? So in that, one of the thing is social equality and no gender bias. So what according to you will create social equality, and what changes you would like to make in a pretty much patriarchal society? Like I wouldn't call it's totally patriarchal. Time has changed, and many men are staunch feminists, including your husband and my husband. But still, like what in your view would be the change you would like to see?
See, it starts with teaching the boys better
Yeah.
about women. And I think as mothers, we are in a better position to teach them about gender equality and how to respect women and everything. So it starts with teaching the boys. And secondly, what I would also want men to do more of is take more joy in being homemakers as well. The
Actually.
See, the thing is, this it's also unfair to them that they take on the role of these providers, um, and they take it very seriously. But they also need to become more of carers, and like what mothers do, like all working mothers do that, like they become not just carers, they
Yeah,
also go and
absolutely.
work and come back. So I think if men take more joy in these things, not only will it help women, but it will also make their life more, I don't know, more purpose and meaning. And it
Yeah.
won't be all just work, right?
Yeah.
That will bring about a big change. Not just, I mean, I'm also looking at it from the point of view of a homemaker, and like from what I see. Of course, there must be many things one can do, but what I see is something which is lacking is this, that men should become more of homemakers and carers too. And we shouldn't be looking down on men who choose to stay home and take care of their families.
Yeah.
Even women are not very comfortable with that idea. So
Yes.
when these things become more normalized, it's going to be much better. I wish for this to happen,
Yeah.
that um, that
Absolutely.
men become more interested in becoming a loving parent as much as they like being a provider for the family.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's a life skill, right? You need to know how to even organize or manage your house, because uh, everybody should know that, be it a woman, man, or anybody.
It's not just about learning to cook and doing the groceries and
Exactly.
things like that. It's just taking pride and joy in being looking after these things, and or spending that time with your family, or taking that much interest in
Yeah.
home life. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's true. In schools these days, they have these cooking sessions. They teach children how to cut vegetables and, how to cook, basically. In my, like growing up in my school, like I remember, I think we had separate activities for girls and for boys.
Mhm.
We were taught, it was so gender biased. There were separate
Changing
activities
already.
for each gender. What is the simple steps or easy way to start for a beginner in making lifestyle changes to live sustainably?
Like you said, start with using your own produce bags. go
Yeah.
and look for stuff. But more than all of this, I feel that we need to concentrate on reducing wastage and consumption.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
that, like I told you earlier, more bang for the buck changes are those, like, eat more plant-based food, buy only what you will consume, whether it's clothes or it's food. Make sure you don't waste anything. I think those are simple changes. It looks simple. It's not that hard, but
Yeah.
like I said, you need to establish practices and habits which ensure that you do. And it's not easy. Like even me, in spite of doing so many things, I still make mistakes. So I'll have to see. I can't be hard on myself and say, oh my God, you can't be doing this. See, for example, if I go see something and impulsively buy, so if I realize I have a problem, I need to think about how I can combat that impulsive behavior. So I can make myself some rules saying that, okay, next time you like something, you're not going to buy it right away. You'll wait for 24 hours and then buy.
Yeah.
So you can make changes like that in habits and rules so that it makes a bigger impact. And then look at the smallest change that you can make. For somebody who hasn't begun and is suddenly inspired to, you can't start with like something big like composting or making enzyme cleaners. That might be too much and you'll give up fast.
Yeah.
So make the smallest change that you can manage and sustain for a long period. It's like establishing any habit.
That's
Start
wonderful.
small, be consistent.
Yeah. I really like that. I mean, that's pretty easy, right? Like you reduce your consumption, be more mindful of how much you're getting into the house.
It's
Yeah.
sustainability starts with reducing stuff and then comes
Yeah. Yeah.
recycling.
Absolutely. That's really wonderful. Very nice. So, so being a home manager, what is the most difficult task you struggle doing?
I tell you what, I read about this thing called the cognitive load, the mental load on motherhood. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not, I wouldn't call it motherhood. It's not just women. In every household, you will find that one parent becomes like the default person who handles everything, is
Yeah.
the default multitasker. So as a homemaker, I feel that this redistribution of this mental load on the homemaker is what I struggle with the most. I feel like sometimes I'm handling everything.
Yeah.
I tell my friends this anecdote. It's not a joke. It really happened in my house. I told my husband, please watch the stove. I have something to do. So
Yeah.
when I came back, the thing was burnt. He said, you
Oh,
only told me to watch it. No, he was serious. He said, you
that's
only
so
told me
sweet.
to watch it. You never told me what I'm supposed to do, at what color change should I
Oh,
do something. Now, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, this is funny. I laugh
yeah.
too. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
many
I know it's
times
quite
we end up
annoying when it's
thinking,
happening, right?
it's not just me, like everyone can come up with, and it's not just, I wouldn't say only men do it, or there
No,
is
no, yeah,
always this
that's
default
true.
person on whom everything falls. And how many times have you told yourself, or I have told myself, it's just easier if I do it myself. I don't have to answer 100 questions, right? So I think we need to come up with a better way of handling these things where you can delegate responsibility and not worry about the nitty-gritties. I think we also need to learn to let go. So if you ask me, as a homemaker, that's my biggest struggle.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get it.
Dealing with this mental load of so many things. Like you just walk across, you'll have four things in your head, like, oh, I need to buy this, I need to do this, or this is not done. But then you're constantly making a mental to-do list in your head. Like even if you physically write it down, you'll realize there are 100 things that you're dealing
I
with.
totally
and
can relate to you. Yeah.
and most of it is unpaid and underappreciated stuff, right? The thing is, I'm also doing it out of choice, and I derive joy and pride in doing it, and there is nothing wrong with doing it. I'm not expecting thanks, but I think there are easier and better ways of doing this when it's redistributed, and then everybody can contribute even in a small way. If you can work towards reducing the mental load on the default person, I think it makes life easier
Yeah,
in any
actually.
small way, like sustainable, small, consistent way. If the other
Yeah,
person is contributing, I think even children, like whoever you're dealing with,
yeah.
if they contribute in any way, even guests coming into your house, if they can help you with that, it's good.
That's true. That's true. Very
That's
nice.
my biggest challenge.
I know. I
That I
think
feel I'm
every
all over the place and I'm not able to concentrate on I mean, I wish somebody would take it off my hand, but what? I don't have any idea of like how do I
what to
delegate it? Like what
delegate.
do I
Yeah.
delegate? You know, there's like I want somebody to take over this load, but I haven't figured out a way of doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
I hope you understand.
Yeah, I know. Because see, frankly speaking, even when I was working, it was so difficult for me. And my boy was quite little that time. So it was so difficult mentally to focus in my work and be present and present to his requirements. It was always a struggle for me. And the total responsibility was taken by me. Might be I never communicated to my partner, to my husband, that I need help. So I don't really blame him, but because I think women are conditioned like that, that it is your
Yeah, true,
responsibility. Like I think my mom
true.
used to always tell me, you are working, you go out work, but it is your responsibility to take care of your family and work. So that time I never questioned that. I said, okay, that is my responsibility. I have to take care of my kid and also focus on my career. But as years went by, I was like, why is this only these questions arise, why is this only my responsibility? Like even if it's a homemaker, as you said, there is so much of mental uh, burden on for all these things. So there has to be, I think, a different way where everybody's contributing and I think sharing the responsibilities. Like of course if it's a small
Yeah.
child you can't expect, but as the kids are growing, I think they also need to become more responsible and start contributing towards the home and the
No, I wouldn't
responsibility.
say even children are too small to do that. Like you can
Like
do a lot of
now
things. Like, you know, how many small babies understand cleanup time in nursery? So,
yeah, yeah.
you know, it's like if they start doing that as a habit, I think in 10 days, if you establish that as a habit, it's done. But one has to figure out like how to redistribute this work, and women
Yes.
also, or the person who's taking it all on themselves. See, I've seen a lot of men do this also,
Yeah.
and that there are working men who end up taking a big load of responsibilities in some area.
Okay.
Even in my house, I'm sure there are a lot of things that my husband fully has to take care of, which I don't contribute towards at
Right,
all.
right.
It starts with communicating. If this is becoming a problem,
Yeah,
an issue for you, if it
communication is
is,
the key. Yeah,
yeah,
true.
so you have to figure out and talk about it, and figure out how you're going to deal. So as a homemaker, I feel like I have a lot of mental load, but then, you know, I need to let go, and I need to talk, and I need to tell
Yes.
somebody that this is a problem. So, and I need to also maybe there are so many things that I need to take over from my husband.
So that was great, Anu. I had so much fun conversing with you and, getting to know how you embrace sustainability. And you gave very nice practical tips, which will be very useful to all our listeners. So thank you so much. So, yeah, just tell us how can we find you, where we can, where people would like, if they want to read your blogs or know you, how can they find you or where can they find you?
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you as always. This is no different from our usual
Yeah.
conversations about all of this. As far as where to find me, I write an occasional blog about all the things that I like, also about minimalism and
Sustainability.
sustainability and all of this. Uh, I've I will send you the link to the
Website.
my blog,
Yeah.
and I also have a newsletter where I share
Oh,
things that I
nice.
like, articles that I like, stuff that I like. So I have like a newsletter. As of now, this is once a month.
Okay,
So
great.
if people are interested in these topics, they should check out my blog.
That's great. I'll put the link in the show notes so they can actually go and
Yeah,
access it. Yeah.
there aren't that many yet, but I just
Of,
started it recently.
that's a wonderful
Hopefully, somebody
initiative.
will find it interesting.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I've read few of them and they're really interesting.
Thank you so much.
That was great, Anu. Thank you so much once again. Bye.
Bye.